In Minami Lane, I have to build up a thriving neighborhood from absolutely nothing while optimizing shops and making everything beautiful to keep my villagers happy. To 100% the game, I'll need to complete every mission, including the optional goals, and get all 20 achievements while finding a ton of tanuki, petting dozens of cats, and picking up hundreds of pieces of trash along the way. But first, hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Ali, and if you enjoy this video and you want to see more like it, then please consider subscribing. With that, it's time to dive into the adorable world of Minami Lane. I was immediately greeted by a tanuki named Emma, who asked me to help rebuild the neighborhood. I'm sure having a boba cafe will transform it into a vibrant neighborhood. Okay, I feel like we probably need more infrastructure than that, but I love the vision. Let's go. To complete the first mission, we would need to have 15 villagers, 75% satisfaction, and build a boba shop, all within 12 days or less. But to even build a boba shop, I'd need 10 villagers, so that was my first goal. To make money in the meantime, I built a ramen shop, and not only could I customize the outside, but also the actual ramen we would serve, which I thought was really fun. Before that though, I had to name it. All right, so this shop's gonna be called Noodleicious. Noodleicious. Yes, I can spell. I'm an adult. I can combine two basic easy words together. I'm a noodle bitch. Let's do 3 noodles, 2 pork, 1 eggs. With that done and nothing else to do, I went to start the first day. Oh, wait, I forgot to tell you something important. Emma, queen. Thankfully, it was just that I could click on villagers to find out what they were thinking, like what they liked or didn't about store offerings. So I clicked on the first villager I saw and... Does it ever rain here? Okay, I didn't think the first thought we'd get was like existential. Oh, the price is low. Okay, well thanks for telling me that, queen. I'm raising that shit up. And they weren't the only villager with weird thoughts. Less noodles, all right. You're a freak. Why would you ever want less noodles and ramen? But okay. But by the end of the day, we had made decent progress towards our goal. I clicked around the menu for a bit, familiarizing myself with the stats I needed to focus on, as well as the collectibles, which included tanukis, trash, and cats. We need to get the cats now. Next, I decided to buy a park to boost our beauty and thus satisfaction. After customizing it, I went back to Noodleicious to make some adjustments. With that done, it was time to start my second day. I'm looking for tanukis. I'm looking for, oh, what's that? Oh, hi! Okay, I found the tanuki. That was easy. We ended up making more money than the day before, but my villagers still weren't very satisfied. I adjusted the ramen recipe again and raised the price a bit more before buying a second house in the hopes that more villagers would bring us more money. The next day, even though the villagers still thought the street looked bland, the ramen recipe was now perfect, and I even started to get some compliments for how well I was running the town. However, I started slacking a bit on collectibles. Shit, if there was a tanuki, I did not see one today. I also was not looking, so that might be why I didn't see one, but I certainly didn't see one today. And after all that, our satisfaction actually decreased, and while we earned a bit more money, it wasn't enough to do anything, so I just lowered the price of ramen and started the next day. The price was still too high, so I decreased it another $1 and added in a park to try to improve satisfaction that way. But it still wasn't enough. It feels fair. I wish it was cheaper. What do you mean? I feel like if you're getting the most perfect ramen in your life, I'd pay $16 for the most perfect ramen in my life. Our satisfaction improved enough where we could buy the boba shop, but now we didn't have enough money, so once again, the only thing I could do was lower the price of ramen. Thankfully, that ended up being the perfect price, and by the end of the day, we had enough money and satisfaction to buy the boba shop. Well, I'm nothing if not creative, so let's go with Bobalicious. $12 for boba? That's still like ridiculous. In this economy? I guess these people don't work. They just walk around eating boba and ramen all day. Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. These people don't have to work and they can still afford all this shit. Yeah. We need $3 in profit. All right, start the day. We'll see how, if they execute me on the street, then we'll know. We'll know I went too high. By the end of the day, we had completed all of our goals besides having 15 villagers, so I bought another house. I adjusted the boba recipe based on the feedback I had gotten, and then started the next day. Less tea in their boba tea. Okay, you're just doing it wrong. More sugar, less tea. Less tea? What's wrong with you? And because these people are freaks, having extra tea in their boba made our satisfaction go down just below the 75% threshold. I did what the people wanted, but of course they still weren't happy. More sugar. More sugar? There's not enough tea for all this sugar, chat. Chat, what? Less tea? There's already less tea! What do you mean? Soon it's just gonna be boba, no tea. Is that what y'all want? Okay, I will add more sugar. I don't think I'm gonna do less tea. I think y'all are insane for that. As God, I'm vetoing that request. I think y'all are a little silly. But it didn't matter, and by the end of the day, we had completed the first mission along with the optional goal, earning our first 2 achievements. Emma returned to give us some good news and some bad news. Wow, great job. Look how happy everyone is. Now let's move on to another street. What? Do I lose my street forever? That's so sad. My street. Oh well, maybe on my next street, people would have less insane preferences. Emma told me that everyone on this street was old, but they wanted more young people to move in. Our mission this time was was to have more youths than elders, 80% satisfaction, and to earn $250 a day, which we'd have to do with just 9 buildings or less. This new street started out a bit more established, and they already had a ramen shop. The ramen shop, as well as the Elder Mansion and the onsen that were already here, counted towards the 9 building limit, so I really only had 6 buildings to play with. We also had different options this time, as we couldn't build a boba shop, and instead could only build onsens, bookshops, parks, and ramen shops, as well as 2 different kinds of houses, one for elders and one for youths. I went ahead and bought a modern house to start attracting younger villagers, and right before starting the next day, Emma popped up to tell me that one ramen recipe wouldn't please everyone. The existing one was perfect for elders, so I spent the day collecting feedback from the youths before building a second ramen shop tailored to them. Alright, we're gonna call this one Too Delicious. Based on what I heard yesterday, I gave them more noodles and eggs compared to the elders and lowered the price a bit. Then I took a look at some of the new building upgrades I could buy. I like how I can spend $100 to add a singular flower. You know what? For the bit, yes, I'll do that. I held off on buying anything else and started the next day. Less pork. I feel like these people just want to be ripped off. They also didn't like the price, so I made those adjustments. I thought about upgrading our modern house, but it was cheaper to just buy another one, and since we still had a few buildings to spare, I did that instead. After buying another flower for the onsen, I started the day and got great feedback, with the only change people wanted being to add more noodles. I did that and decided to upgrade the youth ramen shop by adding an additional star, which would attract more customers each day. The next day went well, and we officially had a perfect youth ramen recipe, so I decided to focus on raising the beauty and overall satisfaction of our town. I couldn't afford another onsen, so I bought another park instead, and that brought us super close to the satisfaction requirement. But we were still pretty far from earning $250 a day, so I bought another ramen shop for the youths and appropriately named it Too Delicious 2. We did make a bit more money that day, but still not nearly enough. The people yearned for shop diversity, so for our 9th and final building, I bought a bookstore, which I had low-key forgotten was an option. Alright, I fear my licious name scheme is not gonna work anymore. Let's call it, books. I set it to sell manga, fantasy, and generic novels and up the prices a bit, but unfortunately, no one was really happy with the selection. I switched out fantasy novels for language books and added a few more flowers to the onsen before starting the next day. This ended up being pretty successful because while the youths hated our bookstore selection, the elders were pretty happy, especially with the language books. I switched our selection again, adding in fantasy novels and travel guides, which made everyone much happier and brought us closer to our $250 a day goal. I upgraded one of the houses and bought a few more flowers for the onsen, which is all it took to complete the mission and earn our next 2 achievements. I headed off to our next street, which apparently was too ugly for cats to show up. Our goal was to finish the mission with 6 buildings or less, build a florist, attract 4 cats a day, and pet 20 cats overall. We also unlocked the service center, which would allow us to recycle and customize buildings, which we would definitely need to do. Oh my god, oh my god. Guys. I wonder what some of the unnecessary buildings are. Do they all sell the same thing? No, they all sell different things. Guys, I feel like we don't need a single building to sell one product. We can even sell 3 products in one building. Crazy thing. I bought the recycling service and destroyed all but 2 of the convenies, A-Mart and B-Mart, and split the 6 available offerings between them. Since we had some extra money, I also hired the repainting service and customized A-Mart so the 2 convenies would be a bit more distinct. I could only add 1 building a day, so I was ready to start, but before I could, Emma stopped me to give me a tip. The more villagers you added, the more beauty you would need to compensate. But that didn't matter too much for now, because at the end of the first day, we had 0 beauty. I upgraded the modern house to start working towards the 15 villagers we would need to open a florist, and then to balance things out, bought an onsen, which added 8 beauty. With only $7 to our name, I started the next day, and thankfully all of our upgrades paid off as we got our first cat almost immediately and a second one just a bit later. Since this challenge was more about beauty than money, I didn't pay too much attention to how the convenies were doing, and spent the meager funds we had buying a flower for the onsen. After another day of mostly just petting cats, I had enough money to buy the beauty upgrade for B-Mart and another flower for the onsen, which brought a 3rd cat to our street the next day. The next few days went about the same, and we earned enough money to buy the beauty upgrade for A-Mart and another flower for the onsen. A few days later, I had enough money to buy the florist, but I'd still need a few more villagers before I actually could. To avoid buying another building, I'd have to upgrade the service center, which would bring in 5 more villagers to town. To help save up for that, I increased the prices at the conveni, and 2 days later, we had enough money to buy it. But now we were broke again, so I raised the conveni prices even higher so we could start saving up for the florist. A few more days went by, and I eventually earned enough to buy a florist, which I decided to name F-Mart to keep with the theming of the convenis. With the rest of my money, I bought a final flower for the onsen. We'd been consistently getting 3 cats a day, and I figured we were still pretty far away from attracting the 4th, but at the end of the day... Oh, I did! Fuck it, never mind, I did it! I didn't even realize there were 4 cats, I must have missed one. We moved on to the next street, which was back to being a single house. This time, we had to prepare for an upcoming music festival by having 2 10 out of 10 ramen recipes and 2 10 out of 10 karaoke places. We'd also have to hire a shop investigator to make it easier to see our villagers' preferences, and accomplish all of that in just 21 days. With this mission, we also unlocked a ton of new things, like daily events, new service center hires, and cyclists, which, like the cats, would give us little rewards if we clicked on them as they went by. I bought our first ramen shop, which I named Nudetopia, and planned to buy the service center the next day until I realized that I I would need 15 villagers. So instead, I upgraded our modern house and bought an elder mansion to bring in more people. I decided that Nudetopia seemed like a young person place, so our next ramen shop would be for elders, and I switched up the recipe based on the youth villager feedback from the day before. It still wasn't quite perfect, but thankfully I now had the requirements to buy the service center, and the day after that I could afford to hire a shop investigator. I then added a ramen shop called Old Oodles, which I gave a basic ramen recipe at a decent markup since elders like things to be more expensive for some reason. Having the shop investigator made adjusting the recipes so much easier. Less pork, more shrimp, you got it. You got it, Gladys. Whatever you say, queen. I also adjusted the Newtopia recipe based on the youth feedback. I then went to buy a karaoke bar, but I couldn't because I needed more money and way more satisfaction, so I just moved on to the next day. One of the achievements was to collect every tanuki in a mission, and I was really trying to get it this time. I hadn't missed any so far, but this day I was having a ton of trouble finding it until... Oh my god, he was on the fucking roof? What? Our daily event was also interesting. Expect twice as many cats as usual. We usually get 0, so I don't know how much that will be good for us, but that's okay. I then made recipe adjustments, which as always made no sense. Price feels fair. Less pork? You got it, ma'am. Less pork. Why do you all want less pork? I also bought a park as our beauty was literally at 0, and we ended up getting not 1 but 2 cats, so I guess the newspaper was onto something. Both of our ramen recipes were now perfect, and between all of that, our satisfaction skyrocketed to 60%. But we were still pretty far from being able to buy a karaoke bar, so I bought another park instead. We once again got 2 cats, and our satisfaction went up 10 points. That still wasn't enough for the karaoke bar, but when I read the newspaper the next morning, I realized that that was the least of our problems. Oh, elders have a new favorite they have a what? What? No! Why the fuck would you do that to me? God damn it. That's so rude. What the fuck? Since I had no clue how their taste had changed, I just left the recipe the same for now, and instead upgraded the store to add more beauty. That prevented our satisfaction from dropping, and thankfully the elders were still mostly okay with the recipe, just wanting a few adjustments. Less noodles, more eggs. Okay, I sure can do that, and despite you, I'm raising the price of $1. Get fucked. I got the other ramen shop the beautification upgrade, and all of that pushed our satisfaction to 82%. But now, I didn't have enough money for a karaoke bar, and the weather would be bad, so we'd have 30% less customers the next day. The elders still weren't happy with the recipe and demanded more eggs. That's a crazy ramen bowl. 4 eggs, no, okay, sure, whatever. I do not want to know what the elder house smells like if they're all eating that every day. The day overall was very successful as we got another cat to show up and we were back to having 2 perfect ramen recipes, but we still don't have $350. Are you shitting my entire dick? Okay, that's fine. I love wasting days. That's wonderful. Youths have less money and like lower pricing. Don't we all? That's so real and relatable. Because I'm a benevolent god, I lowered the price of ramen for them at Newtopia. And just a day later, we finally had enough money to buy a karaoke bar. Since I didn't have the space to name it Hip with the Kids, I gave up on trying to be cute or clever and instead just named it Please Love Me as a very subtle cry for help. I obviously wanted this one to target the youths, so I made the song choices Demon, Elastic Love, and Let Me Go, which on further inspection may be aiming for a bit too young of a demographic. But it turns out I was completely wrong with what the kids like, as the elders enjoyed both Demon and Elastic Love, while the youths were only interested in Let Me Go. But with that new knowledge, I was able to open a karaoke bar right next door for elders, aptly named the Karaokaya Asylum. It doesn't need to be spelled right. The elders don't even know what we're referencing anyways. I raised the prices a bit, and then at Please Love Me, I switched out the song choices to hopefully better appeal to the youths. Alongside the tanukis, there was also an achievement for clicking all the cyclists during a mission, but on 4 times speed, that was much easier said than done. Cyclist, no! God damn it, no, okay, I got you. Jesus Christ. Oh, I got the other one. Okay, cool. But my joy was quickly replaced with anger upon reading the newspaper. Elders have a new favorite What if you died? Oh my god, have you considered just dying? Luckily, the youths were kind to me, and now Please Love Me was perfect. Somehow it's the elders who are always like trying to be hip with the new trends, and the youths are like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. And upon playing the next day, that definitely seemed to be the case, as the elders and youths now shared a lot of the same preferred song selections. I made some adjustments, and now the elders could sing pretty much the exact same songs as at Please Love Me, just at a higher price point. That made the Karaokaya Asylum perfect, completing the challenge. Not only did we get the normal 2 achievements for finishing the mission and the optional goal, but we also found all the tanukis and clicked all the cyclists this mission, earning us those 2 achievements as well. With that, it was time to move on to the last mission. Now that we had united the youths and the elders, it was time to bring another group into the fold. The yokai! The what? The yokai are a secretive species who avoid humans, so if we could get them to move in, then that would be proof that Minami Lane was the perfect place to live. To complete this mission, we need to have 4 yokais in town, and have 1 of each of the 12 buildings from all of the previous missions. I then got my first good look at the yokai. Oh, whoa, they're They're so green. I wish I would wear clothes, but whatever you say. At least these guys were cuter than the actual yokai from folklore. And it would definitely be a challenge to get them to move in, as to build a yokai tree, we would need to have 100% satisfaction and $1,000. For the first time ever, we started with a completely blank street, so I bought a good old modern house. Since we had the money, I bought it the beauty upgrade, as we would need a ton of beauty points to reach max satisfaction. After the slowest day in Minami Lane history, we got some good news. Oh, you have more money. Great. I'm so glad. I wish that was true in real life. Pretty much every building required at least 10 people, so I bought an elder house and the beauty upgrade to go with it. After the second slowest day in Minami Lane history, I bought a ramen shop, and I decided to pay homage to our very first one by naming it Noodleicious. I made the recipe something random, but the youth seemed to like it, and we earned an extra $100. I'd kind of forgotten that I didn't have a shop inspector anymore, so I didn't think to look for feedback, and just left the recipe the same for now. I then bought a konbini named Convenience, and set it to sell taiyaki, coffee, and instant noodles, which in retrospect feels a little silly since it's literally right next to a ramen shop, but whatever. The next day, I monitored my youth villagers for ramen feedback, and the general consensus was more noodle, less eggs, so I made those changes. As for the konbini, no one was happy with the selection, so I switched things up a bit and bumped up the prices $1 in the hopes of appealing to elders. But it ended up being perfect for the youths. Since our ramen recipe had also been perfected for them, I lowered the prices of everything so they'd be happy with that too. As our town was already pretty youth-centric, I bought another modern house with a beauty upgrade. And our town was clearly starting to blossom because... oh, a yokai! A yokai! And with the Tanuki Symphony in town leading to more elder customers the next day, it was the perfect time to try to appeal to them, so I bought a boba shop and named it Bobald. I gave it a random recipe and jacked up the price a ton, hoping the elders would like it. And luckily they did, just requesting more tapioca and cream, so I raised the price another $1 to compensate. But I guess that was a bit too far. $11 profit was too much. They don't want to be exploited that much. And it was a good thing I had decided to start catering to elders. Oh, one youth became an elder. All right, shout out Tom. I bought the service center and the store inspector to go with it. I made the adjustments the elders requested at Bobald, but it still wasn't quite perfect until I removed all of the sugar the next day. I also built an onsen to help bump up our beauty. This boosted our satisfaction to 84%, and now that we could get a karaoke bar, I bought another karaoke asylum for the elders. They only liked one of my song choices though, so I switched out the other two the next day. I also bought a florist, which I named Ours Not Ours, to try to make it clear what kind of flower we were selling, but I think the name was too confusing or too stupid because no one really seemed happy with it. In better news, upgrades the next day were 30% less expensive, which was perfect because I had a ton of money to burn. But first things first, I went to adjust the florist. I decided to make it appeal more to elders and thus followed their feedback of adding more of everything and increasing the price. Once that was done, I started the next day, but very quickly realized my mistake. Oh, I forgot to buy any upgrades. Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I was too locked in. It wasn't the end of the world though, as by the end of the day, I earned a ton more money, reached 91% satisfaction, and got another achievement, this time for having 4 different perfect shops. But of course, the game still mocked me. Yeah, don't forget to upgrade your buildings. Thanks, guys. The next day, I bought our final shop, a bookstore to appeal to the youths, appropriately named Book Talk. Based on that, it should exclusively sell smut, but alas, that wasn't an option, so I instead chose fantasy books, comics, and manga. I also did not forget my upgrades this time and bought the beautification ones for the ramen shop, konbini, boba shop, service building, and onsen. Our town was really starting to come together, and the cats seemed to agree, as so many appeared that day that I was able to get the achievement for petting 100 of them. The villagers were happy too, and at the end of the day, I reached 100% satisfaction and got another achievement. Unfortunately, despite being named Book Talk, the youths didn't like the selection at all, and thus fantasy novels and manga were switched out for generic novels and language books. I decided to hold off on buying a yokai tree for a bit longer, and instead bought a park, which brought us to over 50 beauty points, earning another achievement. But the yokai clearly wanted to move in, as I saw another riding by. Hello, Mr. Yokai, you will be moving in soon. Trust. That is both a promise and a threat. So the next day, I bought a yokai tree, bringing our first 2 yokai to Minami Lane. Book Talk still wasn't perfect, so I swapped out the language books for travel guides, which finally did the trick. I also learned that the yokai were great customers, as they were satisfied with literally everything. I bought the beauty upgrade for the park, and then another modern house. I wanted to start expanding our population a bit, so I upgraded it to house 10 people instead of the usual 5. The new customers from this allowed us to get our next achievement, this time for earning over $1,000 in one day. I used that money to upgrade the bookstore to bring in more customers, the florist and karaoke bar to bring in more villagers, and bought another elder mansion, which brought our population to 51 villagers, earning yet another achievement. The boom in population was very apparent the next day, as our city was now insanely lively and there were a ton more cats. I upgraded the Elder Mansion and bought a ton more flowers for the onsen, but I made a horrible, horrible mistake the next day. Fuck, I missed a cat. Fuck. That should be a game over, truly. The bad news continued as the youths now favored a new ramen recipe, so I just bought some more flowers for the onsen before continuing on to the next day. Thankfully, the youths only wanted more pork and eggs, and by the next day, Noodleicious was back to having a perfect recipe. I also added one more yokai villager, but I didn't want to add the fourth one required to complete the mission until I had gotten all of the other achievements. One of which was to finish the mission with all buildings upgraded, so in a futile attempt to max out the onsen, I continued to spend thousands of dollars on flowers. I also hired a few more workers from the service center, just in case that counted towards having the building be fully upgraded. I didn't hire a trash collector though, as another achievement was to pick up 300 pieces of trash. I was only about halfway done with that, so I spent the next several days literally just clicking on litter over and over and over again. This process was pretty tedious, especially when this happened. People leave no trash behind. Fuck. Okay, well that sucks. Thankfully, after wasting the day, I got some much better news. Oh, people leave twice as much trash behind today. Excellent. Thank you for littering. I spent all day picking up trash, but got more bad news in the morning. We lost $50. Fuck. And the next day, we lost $50 again. Bro. I mean, not that it matters. We're rich as hell. Hi, cat. Hello. Are you supposed to be here? All right. Good for you. I think that cat must have been a good omen though, as the day after that, we recovered our losses and earned a bonus $100. Another several long days of collecting trash went by until finally, yay! We did it! Holy shit! With that, all that was left to do was have one perfect final day. At least that was my plan until I always have a new favorite boba recipe. Fuck you guys. But whatever, who cares? It was time to buy our fourth yokai. At this point though, I had so much extra money that I decided to buy as many yokai as I could and ended up with 26 of them, bringing us to a total of 80 villagers. And I still had enough money left over to buy both the trash collection service and a final flower for the onsen. I watched our now massive town absolutely flourish, and by the end of the day unlocked our final 3 achievements. Now that we had completed our final mission, all that was left to do was say goodbye to Emma. We did it! Minami Lane is the best it's ever been. I couldn't have done it without you, my friend. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I guess it's time to say goodbye now. I won't forget you, and neither will the residents of Minami Lane. And who knows, maybe you'll find me again, hidden behind a backpack on the floor somewhere. Farewell, my friend. Aww, this was so cute. Yeah, this game was really adorable. Shout out to the creators. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. It's literally $5, and I had a blast. And there's even like a free build mode where you can just kind of go creative building your own city, which I think would be fun. But with that, we've officially played 100% of Minami Lane. Thank you so much for watching to the very end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, then I once again ask that you please consider subscribing. Not only would it absolutely make my day, but you'll also be able to stay up to date with all of my future content. With that, thank you again for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Please take care of yourself, drink some water, and go recharge an elder just because you can. And I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.